place, and you got to think of it like God's kind of a chess player. He has a bunch of pieces that he's using in different ways to ultimately achieve his goal. And I feel like my chess piece is being a messenger. You can't have everybody being a preacher, everyone leading these FCA type groups because that's too many voices. We need people just out there doing things in other ways to get the kind of people who would be left astray. And like we talk about at Marquette, we talk about all the time mastering your role, doing your job, and letting other people do their jobs and trusting other people to do their jobs. So that's kind of like my role is just bringing people in, showing and leading by example, and showing what a student athlete in today's world that is a follower of Christ looks like. Um, so again, being a student athlete, you have a platform, whether you like it or not. You gotta be able to use this platform, and kind of like how I touched on earlier, how I always felt like a fraud or like an imperfect follower of Jesus, but there's really no such thing. Like, um, so I've tried to use and steer others towards Christ, and by doing that, I feel like my best way of doing that is just leading by example and yeah, showing what a successful student athlete that believes in God like looks like, and showing that that can still be a thing. Like you don't have to be one or the other. Kind of like my motto, or not my motto, but something I've kind of like told myself like I may not be able to lead a Bible study, but at least I can do is fill the room. Like this is kind of stepping outside my comfort zone, being a student guest, if you call it, on one of these sites. But it's something that I know I could feel like I could help someone. If I have one person, then it's worth my time. So um, next bullet point is where is it? Yeah. So what I used to do, this is kind of an example of how I use my platform to bring people in. Like for the last 5 years, I've had these little devotional books, and for every night I would post on both my Snapchat and my Instagram stories for other people to be able to read this, and I know it's reaching a lot of people. And randomly, I'd get messages all the time like, "Thank you, I really needed this today. You you don't know how much this means to me. Like, thank you, I didn't know I needed this." And people who you wouldn't exactly expect to see it, get a message from, kind of the people who you're like, "Oh, I didn't know that they were Christian. I didn't know that they really read the Bible or follow Christ in that kind of way." So it was a good eye opener to me to show that really everybody's going through this in different ways, and everybody's kind of um, everyone's at a different step in their relationship with God. So it's good and beneficial to just reach out and have other people see and kind of going through the same thing as you. An additional bonus to this way is an example that gives additional motivation. So like in workouts and stuff, knowing that I'm seen as like what little kids want to be when they grow up, it kind of gives you that extra motivation to do that extra rep, do that extra workout late at night that you may not want to do, but it's kind of like you feel like you have to or you're obligated to because this is what you're using to help God be in other people's lives. So it kind of like there's a lot of athletes on this call, but so you guys know how it is that you have to push yourself. You have to find something that is going to give you that extra edge when you're wanting to quit, when you're wanting to just kind of chill, maybe want to like go hang out with friends. Like you have to have that extra push of motivation. And if you see yourself as this messenger that you're being used by God through the sport that you love, then it makes it so much easier. Like it's almost like I can't let God down. Like I got to get this move down. I got to get this working right. So it's kind of something that I've used to remind myself like it's bigger than basketball. Like what you're doing, yeah, the money, the fans, the stadiums full of people who love or hate you. Like, yeah, I live for that, but it's at the end of the day, it's bigger than basketball, and it teaches you that like God's mysterious and He's working in all kinds of ways in your life. And the best example, like from my life that I can share with you guys, is actually from this last season. Um, I wrote some stuff, so I'm gonna read it. But uh, yeah, this last season I was tested. I tore some ligaments in my wrist before the first game. That's why I'm in this cast right here. Uh, but it was a very painful experience, and the doctors were telling me that I had to get surgery right away. But long story short, despite all that, I chose to continue to play. Um, but what I didn't think would happen is, along with that pain and other struggles, it slowly took a toll on me, and it started pulling the love away from the game, or that I had for the game away from me, and it where was I? Yeah, I found myself not looking forward to practices and spending much extra time in the gym because physically my body couldn't take it. And honestly, only my teammates outside of you guys now know this, but I almost quit middle of the season. I almost gave up. I didn't know if I was gonna get the surgery or just basketball wasn't something that I loved at that point. Um, but that was all up until this little girl came up to me. It was randomly. I was just I was walking from class to go watch the girls' basketball game. This little girl came up to me and gave me a bracelet that she had made, and it said, "You can't teach heart." And her mom told me how her and her daughter loved watching me play because they saw the heart and the passion I played with, and they could tell I was fighting through something. And the little girl told the mom that she wanted to teach me what I had taught her, and by making me that bracelet. So that story may not mean anything to you guys, but to me, it kind of showed. It was like that full circle moment. It showed how God was using me to influence so many other people, and it was bigger than me. And the fact that that little girl got that message from what I was doing and still felt like saw that I was going through something and still just made this little bracelet, which actually might be in my room somewhere. Well, anyway, actually, you can grab that bracelet. Yeah, I got the bracelet right here just to show you guys. But so it's this little thing. It says, "You can't teach heart." Kind of, it was that extra push that I needed, especially at a time where I was going through it honestly, and it just taught me to keep fighting, and it even brought me closer to God because it's like, wow, this little girl was like an angel to me. Like she just saved what could be my basketball career, and my life could be on a whole different path right now just from the decision I was about to make a few months ago. And yeah, it's crazy how God will use different people in different ways that on a daily basis you may not think has a long-term effect on somebody, but something small like saying hello, saying just taking the time to actually listen when you say how are you doing, things like that can really go a long way for some people. So basically, if there's one thing you take from this, uh, is use what you love, use what you already love to help God and build His following, and just don't feel like you have to fit into a box. Just do what you do, and God will find a way to use you. Like He uses disciples, all that stuff in the Bible, but at the end of the day, He uses people, and He can use the worst and turn them to the best of the best. So don't feel like you have to push yourself into a box to fill a certain kind of character that is oftentimes represented as a Christian athlete. Like there's no such thing as a guideline for a Christian athlete. You are who you are. You love what you love, so do what you do, and know that God is using you in different ways. So that's really all I had written down. So if there's any questions or anything anyone else want to bring up.
So if you guys have a question for Theo, just unmute yourself and ask away.
It can be about anything, sports. I know a lot of you guys are high school athletes. It could be about college, anything really.
Hey Theo, it's Alexis here. How did you feel? I know that your season was kind of tough, but how did you feel when the March Madness got canceled this year? How was that?
It was crazy. We were actually on. I mean, we saw signs that there was a possibility of it happening. We were in New York for the Big East tournament and on our way to shoot around for our Seton Hall game, and that's when we found out everything was canceled. And it was hard because we had a lot going into that game, and I don't know if you guys know, but we were not playing the best prior to that game, and we felt that this was going to be like one of our breakout games. So it was hard seeing that, and then for the seniors, it's heartbreaking for them. I don't know. You got to control what you can control at the end of the day. So I know a lot of spring athletes didn't even get a chance to compete. So it's hard to go through, but I mean, right now we're all in this together, so it makes it a little easier knowing that.
Theo, I got a question for you. First of all, quick comment. I looked up this Bible verse. You guys have all heard it before, Colossians 3:17, and whatever you do in word or deed, do everything in the name of Lord Jesus, giving thanks to God the Father through him. That's kind of sums up what you talked about. Wherever you are, whatever life circumstances put you in, whether you're a big man blocking shots at Marquette, or you're a Phi Ed teacher, or you're a lacrosse player in high school, wherever you are, use that platform to promote the faith and the awesome life that you've been given. But I got a question for you. What piece of advice would you give your younger self? You were a sophomore at Champlain Park High School. There are very few people I've seen come through our school, and in all the years I've been around there, that have worked and put in the extra time that you did in the gym. But whether it be basketball or school, what advice would you give your younger self in high school?
That's a great question. I would say embrace being different. When I was in high school, I felt like I did a lot of extra work and stuff, and it kind of bugged me, the fact that I wasn't the more social type. But I feel like if I would have just used knowing that I'm like, I think differently than people, like I feel like I could have been in the gym even more. Because if you just try to do what you love and not try to fit in, like that's my ultimate advice to you guys. Like just live the life you want to live, and things will play out. I mean, obviously, if you're messing around, like, yeah, you're gonna have to live that life down the road. But if you put in the work now, you can pay the consequences of whatever choice you do. So. And study more for the ACT, I'll tell you that. Get some more college classes under my.
Larson here. I got a question for you. Are you going to show us your hair today?
Show me that. I can, yeah.
It's still long, isn't it?
It take me a little longer with it. Oh yeah.
All right.
My mom actually braided it the other day.
All right. I was going to say you're not bailing out on me, are you? Okay, that's good. Like it? I approve.
Yeah, it's a little quarantine braid.
What do you think of the beard?
Thank you. I was just gonna say I'm trying to get mine like yours.
Yeah. My question for you.
That's about some extra oil.
On a more serious note, what do you do at Marquette to stay connected? Do you have Bible studies? Do you have guys you pray with, church? What kind of stuff do you do there going to college?
I'd say so. we had a senior last year, Marcus Howard. He led an FCA group on campus, and I'd attend a few times. It was at nighttime. That's usually when I'd get shots up and stuff. But there's a few nights that I attended, and I'd say there's a lot like you're seeing a lot more FCA groups and groups like that, similar to develop on college campuses. I know that they're making a point to like outreach and do things like that, just from overhearing with Marcus and the people he's been talking to. So I know a lot of campuses have groups and things like that. So, and if not, I mean, doing some Bible study by yourself or with your family, like it doesn't matter how many people or if you're even with people at all. It's something that you can control.
Right on.
I'm really liking the beard though.
I'm liking your beer too. It's gray though. That's the problem.
Marky, come here. My son Marky has a question for you. Come on over, Marky. So you're how old you are?
Let's go.
If you had to
What's
get
up?
drafted by a team, what team would it be? 5.
Well, my two favorite teams have always been the Timberwolves and the Lakers. So it'd be nice to play for them, but at the end of the day, whoever's paying the most.
That's fair. That's definitely fair.
So I have a question. Hi, I'm Annie. I'm a senior, and I guess I would just ask. I'm planning on Nordic skiing next year in college. So, how do you keep the balance of, being a competitive athlete and all the other things that you need to accomplish and that you want to do in college? So I just say, how do you keep the balance in your life? Yeah.
Well, congratulations, first of all. Second, once you get to campus, where are you going to school?
University of Wyoming.
Okay, so a lot of people, like you'll have teammates and other people who are like you're working out with and stuff, and they're oftentimes great with helping you and letting you know how many hours you should be doing this, that. I don't know how you guys train for Nordic skiing, but I'm guessing you do a lot of skiing and like downhill stuff. So like they'll oftentimes have a schedule for you as a freshman, and then as the years go on, you'll be able to adjust and see what you like, what you don't like, what you need more time with, what seems easy to you. But ultimately, just spend your time doing your schoolwork, and like I do my schoolwork early in the day, and then that way it's out of the way, and I can get to doing what I love, and that's basketball. So yeah, just don't stress about it though. They'll help you out.
Well, thanks so much for speaking today. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Any other questions? Y'all ain't got to be shy now. I'm open book.
I got one. Was there like a moment, like how you said like you weren't really involved in church before? Like, was there a moment when you realized I really got to get involved now? Like, this is something I got to do.
I wouldn't say there was a specific moment. It was just like I was in church enough when I was younger where I kind of picked up on the overall moral of the stories and kind of the ideas of how basically just to be a good person and treat people right. And like I felt like that really needed to be pushed. So like it wasn't just there wasn't like a life-changing thing that happened where I'm like, wow, I need to be closer with Christ. It was just kind of putting the pieces together, like this, like I may not like it, but there is something here. There is something that I should be following. There is like that I believe. So I know like this is how things are supposed to be.
Theo, a lot of your games are on FS1. Is there, if we're watching, is there like some kind of ritual you have before the game, or you write something on your shoes? There's some little you got a little something you do before the game each day?
Yeah, so this may be a little weird to you guys, but I kind of when I'm playing basketball, when I'm on the court, I'm in character, and what's like the guy that you're seeing on the court isn't Theo John. Like that's a whole nother person. That's a whole nother beast. Because my role, oftentimes on teams, is basically be the leader of the bullies, be the meanest I can be out there, and just playing with heart, passion, all that. Like actually, so ritual wise, I have a lot of tattoos on me. Certain tattoos are kind of like checkpoints, just reminding me to get into that character. So right before they play our intro video and we run out onto the court, I have a tattoo that has a lot of meaning to me, and it's a mask. It's an Akua mask, which it's from the game. I don't know if you guys remember Crash Bandicoot or Bandicoot, something like that. I used to play with my grandfather all the time, so it's a memory of him, but also the Akua mask stands for spiritual guide, and I have it ripping. You can't see it right now, but I have it ripping away at a basketball in my artwork on my arm, and that's kind of showing that spiritually I'm guided through basketball. And I take that mask and I kind of put it on, and that's my character. So it's a weird tactic, but it works. Everyone has their random things.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that.
No problem.
Anybody else have a question
Okay.
for Theo? Oh, here we go.
I have a question.
Yeah.
How do you deal with like being a good sport and like being respectful of other people, like reflecting your Christian values, but also not being a wuss about it?
Great question. So honestly, if I'm being 100% honest, when I'm in character, I'm kind of an asshole. But I don't let that, like once the game ends, that's when I get out of character right away. I've always believed in being a good sport. Like I said earlier, there's always little eyes on you. So I do pull myself back when I'm in the game and there's opportunity to really be an asshole. I pull myself back, like, no, that's not what you do. But when I'm in character, I'm doing what I want, what I need to do to try to get the job done. And when you step out of the court or out of the lines, that's when you be the good person, you be for the one that you would want your kids to grow up to be, like the good person, if that makes sense. So again, I'm not perfect, so I do have my moments, especially on in between the lines, but outside the lines, I try to limit that as much as possible.
Can you remind us what that little bracelet said again?
It says you can't teach art.
That's awesome.
Yeah, there's a little heart right here, so
Sir.
a little bit, but I was actually wearing it for a while when I was going through some stuff, so it was my reminder.
Well, Theo, we thank you so much for your time today, buddy. I think it's just fantastic that you were able to hop on and share a little bit about your faith, get connected. There's a lot of people. You have a lot of fans, obviously, over in Wisconsin and the Marquette fans, but we're always cheering for you here back in Champlin and Brooklyn Park for sure. Does anybody want to pray us out? Any of the FCA leaders? that we have on here still?
I can do it, Davis.
Okay.
All right, please bow your heads. Father God, thank you for bringing Theo here today, and for the gifts and the talents you've given him and just his message that he gave us today. Thank you for everyone who was able to hear this. Just a good reminder, Lord, that we always go through different trials and different times, and how important little things can be at big moments, as Theo shared with that little girl giving him the bracelet. Just help us to remind us, Lord, that you are always in control of our lives and you are surrounding us and have a plan for us and a purpose for us. Help us to keep that in mind. Help us to continue to do the things that we're doing to glorify you, and help us to be light to those who need a light. Thank you for everyone who showed up today. Pray for Theo's wrist that can heal and get healthy, and for the rest of us that we can stay healthy in this difficult time, this challenging time that we're all facing. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
All right. Keep growing, Theo.
Appreciate that.
Good to see you.
Call me in a minute. Hey, good to see you guys.
Thank you so much.
Izzy,
That
thanks
was
for letting
awesome.
us use your connection.
Yeah.
Of course. Thank you.
Blocking too many shots with that wrist, I guess. All right, we'll see you guys.
See ya.